So, okay, so we're moving on to the next popular item, a standalone tub or no bathtub and convert it to a large walk-in shower. So these standalone bathtubs are all the rage right now. And it used to be 20, 30 years ago, it was the built-in corner tub with the jacuzzi bath, the jacuzzi and the air bubbles and all of that. That has been changed. Now the trendy item is the standalone bathtub with space all around it. Personally, I'm not quite sure how long that's going to last because there are many issues with cleaning around it and where to put the soap, practical issues like that. But anyways, that is a very popular thing to do right now, is to convert, if you have the space in your master bath, to convert it to a standalone tub. Or, and this I think is more practical, is to get rid of the tub altogether and create a large walk-in shower with a bench. It could be a steam shower. It could be your luxurious multiple, rain head with multiple jets for multiple water outlets, a spa shower, basically. So that is a popular thing as well to do. Anything to add?
Just a little bit of, just a little bit of comment on that. It is absolutely true. People are not using jacuzzi tubs anymore these days. So, going back to the very, very first slides that we talked about, is the living in your home for a little while, decided what is important to you, and decide where you spend your remodeling dollar. How many of you is actually spending your time on the bathtub compared to how many times you actually use your shower? Your shower is likely to be 96% or maybe even more of the time that you spend in it, rather than the bathtub itself. Obviously, everybody's a little different, right? I do know some people who use the bathtub every day. But then on the flip side, I think, vast majority of us spend more of our time in the bathroom, in the shower, than we do in our tubs. So it is probably a more cost-effective, it's more practical to focus on your shower and build a bigger shower rather than, focusing too much on the bathtub these days.
Yeah, absolutely right. An open floor plan. I'm sure everyone has heard of this. Has been the trend for quite a number of years now, and to the point where I think it might, in another 10, 20 years, it might be, people are going to put up walls to separate spaces versus taking down walls. But right now, one of the very first things that everybody wants to do is to take down the walls, create an open plan so that they can entertain and see their friends, watch the TV while they cook, have everybody in the same space as a family, as the kids are doing homework. So open plan still continues to be very popular as a remodeling item. Another popular item is aging in place. With the baby boomer generation getting older, but wanting to stay in their home. That's the meaning of aging in place, getting older and making it easier and more comfortable to be in your own home for as long as you can. So as you remodel, you might want to think about putting up showers that have no barriers, that you don't have to step over, large enough maybe for a wheelchair to wheel in, or a bench, open area next to the toilet to be able to transfer from a wheelchair to the toilet. So a more barrier-free, more accessible in all areas, not just the bathroom, but in kitchens, in wider hallways. There are designers who specialize in universal design and aging in place design and barrier-free design. And that is something that it's important to think about as the population gets older. As you're thinking about remodeling, you can plan these things into place as you're thinking about your remodeling needs.
Christine, if you don't mind, back up a few slides where
Sure.
you have the gray bathroom with the bathtub next to it.
This one?
I want to illustrate one point. Here we go. There you go. Yep. I couldn't see it very well, but it seems to me that one thing that is very, very popular these days, other than having a bench inside your shower, is to have a non-barrier shower, which means sometimes people call it curbless shower.
Yes, curbless shower.
Um, right, and then also have the linear drain where the entrance is, so therefore the water doesn't get out. Having a bench in there so that for people who are aging in their place, they can use their home and stay in their home a lot longer. For example, even if they were to require wheelchair access or ADA compatibility, it was a lot easier for senior to use the bathroom, and they can stay in their home for a lot longer. And so some of these consideration of building a linear drains in front of a curbless showers with bench inside are extremely popular these days.
Yes, yes. And I want to actually emphasize that being barrier free and being accessible for wheelchair and for walkers doesn't mean they have to be looked into institutional. It doesn't mean it has to be an ugly bathroom. I mean, look at this beautiful shower here. It would be a shower that anybody would love to have in their home, and yet it is, it's wide enough for barrier free, and it's let's say it is curbless. I can't really see the bottom of it, but let's say it is curbless. It's easy to access. So my point is that being barrier free does not mean an ugly bathroom. If you plan ahead, it could be as beautiful as any bathroom.
In fact, I think being a curbless shower is sort of the thing these days.
Yes, that is true. So again, like in this slide, let's assume the shower is curbless, but I can't really see it. But there's space next to the toilet, there's space to get into the shower, there's space to get into the tub. So these things can be planned ahead, and it can look just as beautiful as any other. If you plan ahead, it could be just beautiful. So I'm going to talk about a few things that are outdated, that are no longer as popular as they used to be. And one of those, granite countertops. Granite countertops were popular for a long, long time. And they're durable, and they have many beautiful, dramatic vein patterns. But it's been outstripped by what I just talked about, the quartz countertops, which are more durable, easier to care for. And the second item is the jacuzzi tubs, the built-in huge corner bathtubs. Those are also less popular and overtaken by these standalone tubs. And then another item is the wall-to-wall carpets. Hardwood Floors is now, king everywhere. So people are ripping up their carpets, especially in living rooms, public rooms. Sometimes you still see them in bedrooms because they're very comfortable underfoot in bedrooms, but definitely they're not as popular as they used to be.
Yeah, a lot of application these days when it comes to carpeting, it's not the wall-to-wall carpet, but the area rugs on the area rugs. Those are going to be the more right. So that way, people like to have the warm, fuzzy feeling, the warm feeling of using carpeting, and yet not necessarily want to deal with wall-to-wall carpeting that is fixed to the floor.
Yeah.
So having good hardwood floor with radiant heating and have a nice area rug on top of that, it's particularly popular.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to move on and talk about some things that are classics, not trends. So that these things are going to be, will last for a long time, because these are always, good design. So they're safe to go with these items, because they're not going to be trendy and outdated in 10, 20, 30 years. Natural light is always classic. So when you are remodeling, consider adding windows, consider placing the windows where the sun hits, or relocating the window where the sun comes in. So natural light is always a trend. And in this picture, there's a whole wall of glass and to increase the light coming into the room, and that is very it's very popular right now to convert a whole wall to glass. There's structural issues, but popular to let in as much natural light as possible.
And I would add in, just in terms of real estate, that's almost, I would say almost 100%. I mean, it's a huge deal for most of my buyers. They love the natural light. That's a big factor. So if it's looking dark, there are other ways to work around it if you don't have natural light, but it makes a big difference even for resale.
Yeah. So again, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and using transom window, now I can see this particular example that, on top of the patio door, you actually have another row of window on top.
Yes.
Is what they call the transom windows.
Mm-hmm.
Transom windows are excellent in terms of bringing in additional lights.
Mm-hmm.
They will give you a much better ambient lighting and the whole room, brighten up, and you won't even need to turn on your lights. And coupled with light color walls, it just makes your room feel a lot bigger.
Yes.
And also the usage of skylight is also a very popular thing as well.
Yes.
Not only can they be used for ventilation purposes, they can also bring in a lot more light than a regular window can.
Yeah.
So those are some of the good considerations when you're trying to budget your remodeling dollar to get the maximum return.
Yes.
Using larger windows as well as skylights are very, very popular options.
Yeah. Here's another example of bright natural light in a room. So all these things can be achieved with planning. When you're planning the remodel, in your planning stages, all things are possible. So these are things that you want to consider and think about during the planning stage, so that you maximize the result of your remodeling. Another classic is organic materials, like wood and stone. Just a bit of it, you can see the wood furniture, the natural cane chairs, the rugs with the I think it's sisal or something on the rug in the right hand side, the hardwood floor on the left hand side. So wood and natural materials are always classic. Here's another example of wood. A lot of wood in the ceiling and the floor, and wood on the foot of the bed. Just it does not get dated. The other organic materials like the stone and the behind the bed, which is I think some kind of rattan or bamboo or something. So natural materials is the point I'm trying to make here. Here's another picture of stone on the wall at the right-hand side, and wood cabinetry. Another classic item is colors found in nature. If you are in doubt of what colors you like to a color scheme in the room, go to nature for your inspiration. So this room looks beautiful because of the beiges and browns and creams, and you can see on the right hand side it is taken from nature. The wheat and the sky and the colors in this view. I'm just going to go through a few more slides where you can see the room scheme kind of taken from a color in nature. The blues and the whites, the dark blue-greens of a leaf. Here's another slide showing some colors found in, well, this is not exactly nature, but still lots of greens. Nature is just a great inspiration, so you could use many colored schemes and many, you can find many different color combos that of whatever you like.
Yeah, these are all, it's all very good, earth tone type colors.
Yes, yeah. Plants, neutrals, earth tones are colors found in nature is always is always classic.
It's always very pleasing to your eyes as well.
That's true. That's true. Another classic that's designed item that's not trendy is contrasting rough and smooth. And here's an example of a rough wall with the smooth cabinetry on the right-hand side, left-hand side, and a smooth floor. So a contrast, a rough and smooth contrast is always a pleasing and a good way to add to a design of the room. Here's some more examples of rough and smooth next to each other. Rustic and refined is another contrast that you can put together in a room. And here's some pictures of that in a very old rustic farmhouse with old wood beams, and yet you put in modern, comfortable furniture, and it looks just right. Or adding on the left-hand side, adding a rustic table and an old Oriental rug on smooth classic room with classic moldings. That also looks great. Contrasting. So basically, a lot of things contrasting each other creates a classic look. Old and modern is also a very good way to bring contrast together. Subway tile, classic. And there are many different ways to do subway tile. Other than on the left-hand side where you have the traditional subway tile, you can do square tiles in a subway pattern. You can do subway tiles not staggered, but straight on where they all line up. And that's also a subway shape, but you know, installed in a different way, and it's still a classic look. Shaker cabinet doors are also a classic look. That's been around for, I don't know how many years, 50 or more years, as long as there's been kitchen cabinets. Shaker cabinet doors are a style that is not too traditional, not too modern, and will always work for any type of design. Here's another look of a shaker door style.
Christine, what is a shaker?
Notice all the drawers.
Shaker cabinet? How do you?
I'm so sorry. Yes, shaker style is, you see the drawers right underneath the stove. The drawers have a frame around it. They all look like a frame around the drawer face. And if you look at the door above the oven, there's a frame around the door. That's shaker style. That little maybe 2-3 inch frame around and then flat in the middle. Does that make sense? That is the shaker style. And it comes from the, the Shakers. They're the old Amish Shakers in the East Coast. They're really great woodworkers and craftsmen. And this is a very plain style. It's a simple. It's not too decorative, not too fussy, plain, but yet there's a little bit of restrained decorativeness to it, to the style, just a little extra wood frame around each face of the drawer. And that's what it's named after. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, Andrews, were you going to say something add to that?
No, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, shaker style, it was just basically the bordering.
Yes, the bordering
on the
around
face
it.
of the cabinetry door.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Usually it's somewhere between 2 to 3 inches border. Some of them have bevels in it, some of them don't. These days, when they have a shaker style door such as this, that has the straight edges, they tend to be a little bit modernized. Some of the older styles, shaker stores, they have bevels. And so that would create more of a classic look, almost like a crown molding type effect. Where this particular shaker style, it seems to me that it is got a straight edge. So
straight edge, modern, yeah. Mm-hmm.
More modern, contemporary look to it. But I just want to say, you notice all the drawers underneath the center stove, the countertop.
Yes, they never used to do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So the drawers these days are particularly popular design because of the ease of accessibility that we discussed a little earlier.
Mm. That's a good point. Another classic is hardwood floors. I'm sure Jean will tell you for every home that she can put down hardwood floors throughout on her listing description is a plus, right?
Definitely.
And I know practically every agent will, as they stage a house, rip up the old carpet and expose the hardwood floors to stage the house. And there's a reason for that. It's that hardwood floors just a classic and well loved by everyone. I mean, I know people who actually don't enjoy them, but the look is beautiful. And like Anders said, you can throw an area rug over the top of it if you want your toes to not be cold. But hardwood floors has been classic for a long, long time. And then storage and organization is another classic for real estate. Who would not enjoy a closet or a pantry that looked like this? And shortage of storage is a thing that it leads to many people not enjoying their home, leads them to consider home improvement is to increase storage or more efficient storage. So storage is something that is, I would consider a classic use of home, classic reason for home improvement. So, okay. Oh, I'm on to the next slide. Then I want to talk about a few things that when it's okay to splurge, if you are prioritizing your money and where you want to spend the money and where you want to save, there's some things that is worth to splurge. High quality paint is something that you touch and you see every day, and it's actually the first, it's the most outward part of your house that you touch every day, and you need a high quality that can withstand scuffing. It can be wiped down. So cheap paint is not a good use of your remodeling money. Hardwood floors is something that you can feel free to splurge on. Quality cabinets, that is something that you open and close every day. You need the hinges and the doorknobs and the doors to not warp, to stay in place, the hinges to work well year after year. So quality cabinets is something that definitely is worth it. Maintenance-free countertops and materials around your home. And also, I have to say, professional design is worth the splurge because you can avoid so many mistakes. You can avoid, you can get ideas where you would never have thought of. Professional designers have done kitchens and baths, many times, many years, whereas most people do remodel their homes once or twice or 5 times in their lifetime. And so the experience is really worth to guide you into the right, the absolutely right space for you, the absolutely right remodeling plan for you.
I would even go as far to say professional design is actually instrumental to ensuring that you got exactly what you need. And be also, if a good professional design would actually help you save money as part of that process as well, because it also guides you as to what is necessity, what is essential, and what's not, and how to maximize your remodeling dollar to get to exactly the effect that you need. And then they're not going to, they got to help you make sure that you don't overspend and have better scope control, because otherwise, if you make mistakes on your choices, now and doing it again will cost you 3 times, maybe 5 times as much. So, having a good professional to help you design that ahead of time, and having a good contractor who has good experience in that type of work, doing that things for you, would actually save you money, because you only have to do it once. You don't have to do it, rip it again, and do it again.
Absolutely right. And then there's some items where you don't have to overspend on your money. Appliances is a big item that a lot of people, want to put in the Viking stove, the Wolf stove, and the Sub-Zero refrigerator. Those are brand name and they cost a lot of money. And really, you have to ask yourself whether you're actually going to be a professional chef cooking around in your kitchen. So appliances is something that you really have to consider. That you can get some very good quality ones without the name brand that serve a regular family or even a high-end family very well without having to spend a ton of money on the brand name. Bathroom tiles, another thing I will advise you don't need to spend. There are very costly handmade, certain tiles that you could pay through the roof for them, but you don't need to. You can get some very, very nice results with reasonably priced tile. And light fixtures as well. They don't have to be. There's some very nice looking light fixtures that are reasonably priced, and you don't have to overspend on those. Okay, so here we're going to leave you with a few tips. My number one tip is, an architect told me this many years ago, you can never have too many closets or electrical outlets in your home. So when you're thinking about remodeling, now there's code to require how many electrical outlets have to be in each room. But older homes will usually have, older kitchen will have one outlet on each wall. And think of all the extension cords. And there's so many things that we need to charge in our lives, so many devices, so many things we need to plug in. So electrical outlets everywhere, and closets, as many as you can, cram into your house. These two things you can never have too many of.
Yeah, one thing about closets is that for all the men out there, build as many closets as you can, especially when you marry and have children. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with the tiny little closets in the middle of the hallway that nobody wants to use. So have as many closets as you can, especially in master bedroom. Having two is a great idea, right? And one big one and one small one, somewhat similar in size. Otherwise, you know which one you're going to end up with.
Andrew, sounds like you're speaking from experience.
I'm very blessed to have a wife and a daughter, so I know exactly what that means.
Yeah. Okay. So, tip number 2. This is a real design dilemma. Don't put a bathroom or powder room in direct view of a kitchen or dining room. This is very obvious why. There's the noise issue. There's the visual issue. I've heard people where when there's a bathroom in view of a kitchen or dining room, nobody will use it. Your guests come and everybody, they just won't go. It's because it's just too uncomfortable, especially when it's right off of a dining room. It's just, so this is something that a design professional will, as me as a design professional, I will not allow you to do that, because this is just a terrible idea. So that's where a design professional will help out, save you from a mistake of this sort. Anyways, this is just not a good idea. Anders?
No, yeah, another thing, just to sort of add to it a little bit, is that for those people who are fortunate enough to have homes that has higher ceilings, use tall doors, 8-foot tall doors, if you can, especially doors that are solid core doors, because it just gives you so much better quality to it, and the soundproofing of these doors, especially when you're using it in the bathroom. It just avoids a lot of embarrassment, and it's just gives you so much more volume when when you're able to use a door that is 8 foot tall, and just the quality when you put your hands on it, on the door handles and the door itself. If it's a solid core door, it just gives you more quality to it.
Yeah. Tip number 3, make sure there's enough space for comfortable traffic flow. So I've seen many design where there's not enough that there may be too much furniture in the room. There's not enough space to, behind the countertop for bar stools and people walking past behind the bar stools. That sort of thing those are mistakes that a designer can help with to make sure that there's certain clearances, certain distances that needs to be allowed for. Like when you're at the dining room table, you push your chair back, you need at least 24 inches to be able to push your chair back and not hit something, to be able to get out of the chair. So enough space for comfortable use of the space, how you place your furniture, where you place the hallways and the doorways. Those are all things to consider as you're planning the remodel.
And one thing about, just to expand on that a little bit, as far as hallway goes, a lot of people seem to have the idea that the bigger the bedrooms are, the better. The bigger the living space, the better. And it's true. So therefore, they start the space on the hallway. Just one thing to be reminded of is that the longer the hallway, the wider it needs to be. Otherwise, you get this claustrophobic feeling that you walk through it, that you have a very narrow hallway. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. So having nice and wide hallways actually it's a very comfortable thing. My personal preference usually for hallways that are no less than, usually I don't usually build a hallway less than 4 feet wide, at least. That way you can be very comfortable walking through a hallway, not having to feel that you're going to be hitting with your elbows. So the longer the hallway, the wider it needs to be.
Yeah.
And having good skylight in your hallways are also a very good thing as well, so that you have a lot of natural light in the hallway.
Yes, a dark hallway is the worst. A dark, narrow hallway is the worst.
Even worse.
Yeah, exactly. So now tip number 4, if you're considering replacing windows in your home, follow the architectural style of the home in terms of what window style you replace it with. So, for example, many Victorian homes have narrow windows, and then you see them replaced with, and they're typically originally double hung windows, which means they slide up and down. So there's a narrow window that's two parts, top part and the bottom part, and they slide up and down. Those are the typical traditional windows for Victorian homes. But then people come along and they remodel and they change out to sliders. And then they're super narrow. And I mean, the window opening is narrow to begin with. And then the sliders are divided vertically, so they're half as narrow as the window, and this does not look correct for Victorian homes to have slider windows. And then there are other types like modern homes do not look right with double hung, because that's a more traditional style. So the architectural style of your home should inform what windows, when you replace the window, what style it should be to make it look the most pleasing, instead of ending up with kind of a mishmash of architectural style for your home.
Now, and that goes back to a little earlier when we discussed, using the proper professionals to help you design your remodeling, and that's when it pays off. Because, for example, if you have a Victorian house, and I personally have restored a Victorian home that's 104 years old, and I pretty much demolish the entire house except the front facade. And I built everything else from scratch except the facade. So so using the proper professional and find a way to preserve the original intent of the architectural style and the look and feel is important, and yet you can still leverage some of those ideas to keep the inside of the house modern and be useful and be practical. So using proper professional who knows how to deal with these things and make proper decisions, or to help you guide to come up with a proper decision, is particularly important.
Yep. And Tip number 5 is kind of an extension of tip number 4, is that if you're doing an extension to your home, make sure that the new architecture is compatible and looks compatible to the existing structure, that is cohesive, so that it's not like, obviously a new structure stuck onto the side of the old structure. Making them cohesive and compatible, and similar in architectural style is important. Otherwise this really is detrimental to the value of your home to have a obviously incompatible new structure. It's not a good thing. Tip number 6. And make as many design decisions and purchase the materials in advance. This is going to be helpful with the timing of your remodel, to making design decisions and changes on paper. It costs nothing. So have everything decided, and then purchase your materials, all of which will help shorten the time frame and avoid delays while the remodeling is going on. So that would be a tip that I would encourage you to make your decisions and purchase your materials and have everything ready before you even start one hammer ripping down the house. And that will make things, that would avoid delays, and contractors will love that. Here is the scope creep. Stick to your budget. And this is both Anders and I mentioned about decide what you want your remodeling to be, and if necessary, prioritize and divide into stages. But while you're working, while the remodeling is going on, don't try to resist the creeping and adding to your scope. That would definitely change your budget and change your timeline. So I think that's my final tip for this presentation.
And that also shortened the timeline at which you will be have your house under construction as well. Like I said, again, construction doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a long and strenuous exercise, as long as you do not, as long as you define your scope ahead of time and stick to it.
Make your decisions and stick to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is my final tip: is that these remodeling shows that you see on TV is completely fabrication. Is not real. Is not real in terms of timeline and cost. So just be aware of that.
I love that. My family used to love watching HGTV, and I'm like, people don't buying home is not like what you see on HGTV. You don't go see 3 places, put an offer on one, get it, and boom, you remodel and you're done in 1 month. It doesn't happen that way. So, love these shows.
Yes.
They set up reality for you really well.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Andy.
Okay, great.
So thank you very much. We're actually a little bit past 8, so I want to honor everybody's time, and we're not going to really have time for questions, but I will be sending everybody a copy of this. Is going to be recorded, and then I will send also your contact information for both Christine and Andrew, if they don't mind, because they're both great at what they do.
I don't at all.
I'm sorry?
It's perfectly okay, yes.
Yeah, so, definitely would love to be able to send their information to you. And then if you have any questions, you can also, of course, reach out to me and to any of our agents if you have any questions, if you're thinking about either remodeling, and even if you're doing it for yourself, if you're thinking maybe in a few years later you are planning to sell, you want to make sure that you don't, that you do get some amount of that return on investment, as well as just enjoying the time that you have. So that would definitely encourage you to do that. It is past 8, so I'm going to skip through the questions for today. And then if we, let me see, just a few announcements I wanted to hit. So our next seminar is going to be 1031 exchanges. So they are still happening, and some of the deadlines have been changed and some rules on that. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you join us. Most likely it will be an online one as well. So that's June 17th. We have other upcoming seminars, so here are the topics. I won't go through that. One that I'm actually thinking of that's not on here is one on either buying and or selling real estate in the middle of coronavirus, because there's in the middle of the shelter in place due to coronavirus, because procedures have changed, thoughts have changed, a lot of interesting things that are happening on that front. And then probably doing also a more comprehensive real estate market update when we get to the mid-year. Find us on YouTube. So this recording, as well as others and our listings, will be on YouTube. Our group is, just for fun, we're working on a song. So we'll see how that works. So you may hear that. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. It'll be just for fun. And then I am planning to interviews of our staff, of our different agents as well, just so that you get to know us on a little more personal level. Make sure you're on our email list, and that way you can, this is what our seminars, the bottom left corner is what our seminars used to look like. So I actually like this format for this seminar in particular, because we're able to see the slides more clearly. And so on the examples, I really like that. So, but it's also nice to see each other face to face. So we'd love to do that. And we usually do a shredding party that was rescheduled because that was originally in April and we couldn't do that. So just if you want to keep up to date on what we're doing in our events, please make sure you're on our email list. And again, thank you so much to Andrews and Christine for being willing to do this. I'm roping them into my these seminars, but they just—
My pleasure.
I wrote down a whole bunch of notes, and we'll be referring to it myself. And I had some questions too, but they've both been, they're great at what they do. They're great friends. And if you need somebody to be a good resource for you, I would definitely highly recommend getting in touch with one of them. So thank you so much, everybody.
Great.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.